Very first tip for living as empowered as you possibly can as a moon in Leo is to first and foremost make sure that at the forefront of your life, this is so fucking important, I could actually cry. Hi. Hello everyone. I hope you are well, or as well as you possibly can be, given the circumstances of being a human being in this vast galaxy. Do you guys realize how big our galaxy is? Like, I know it's supposed to be like one of those things that brings us comfort, but sometimes I think about it and it makes me uncomfortable. But yes, I hope you are well. My name is Jasmine Kylene. I'm a spiritual counselor. I'm a journalist. I am a girl doing her absolute best. And here we are. So it's funny because I filmed a video maybe like 2 days ago, and I really only filmed it because I felt the need to film something. Like, I was like, I have to upload something, I have to be consistent, so like I'm just gonna film, I'm gonna talk. And like, as I like sat down to do it, as I began recording, everything in my body was like, you don't want to do this, stop doing this now. And I was like, I would like stop and like hear it and be like, no, but I want to do it, I'm gonna push through it. And like, I just pushed through it, and like, as I went to go like edit the footage, everything about the video just repelled me, and I was like, I'm not putting this out. And so several takeaways there, especially if you are a manifesting generator. I'm getting really into human design. I'm actually going to do an interview about human design and upload it, so that's coming soon. But you really have to honor your body. Like, that should always be your inner compass first and foremost. Like, I think if I'm a person where if I don't have anything to say, I can't really force it. I can't force myself to be in any setting or in any activity or in any habit that isn't coming organically and naturally. So I say all of that to say, outside of like, of course, you know, be your own intuitive guide and follow your inner compass, that today I do have something to say. I've been brainstorming on like what sort of like evergreen content can I make, because I think the videos that I make are very like, or usually, unless they're like about spiritual guidance and all of that, especially like the astrological content, is very like it'll expire quite quickly. And I was like, I want to make stuff that like, even if you find it 5 years from now, it'll still to some degree be relevant, or there's still nectar you can take from it. So staying in alignment with like the astrological content, I wanted to do a video where I went through every single I want to first go through like the moon signs, and then I probably want to go through like the Mars and the Venus signs, because I think that those are very important. Also Mercury as well, but I think I want to start with moon, go into Venus, go into Mars, and then maybe Mercury, in terms of like recognizing what this placement means and how to live in the most empowered version of yourself relative to having that moon sign. I think I'm really meant to connect people back to the fullest versions of themselves and get out of their own ways and align themselves with living in their fullest potential. And so I, of course, want to use astrology as a modality to do that. And I think that if we are more aware of, you know, every individual placement and what it means and how it adds to our character, and not only knowing that, but also understanding how to work alongside it to be in the fullest version of ourselves, I think that could really be really helpful. So yeah. So probably gonna do a little explanation of that in the beginning of like every single video. But today I wanted to start off with moon in Leo. Not only because we're moving into Leo season, if you're watching this around the time of upload, but also because my moon is in Leo. And it's a very Leo moon thing to do, to center yourself in all that you do. So how I'm planning on structuring this is talking a little bit about like what it means to have this moon placement, whether it's your placement or someone in your life's placement, or you're just curious about it. And then I'll break it down into like 3 specific tips on how you can live the most empowered with this moon sign. And this is going to help not only how you relate to yourself, but how you relate to others, how you show up in your work life, in your creative life, just how you show up in the world is going to be a bit easier if you implement these 3 sort of actionable things. So for context, if you are like especially an astrological newbie, your moon sign is your emotional world. It's your inner world. It's kind of what goes on within. It's your subconscious, right? If your sun is your conscious identity, sort of like who you are at the forefront, your moon is sort of like the background world and who people know if they are intimate people in your lives, right? So like your mother knows more of your moon sign than like your classmates or your coworkers do, right? So what's beautiful about having a moon sign in Leo is that Leo is ruled by the sun, so it's essentially having kind of like your inner world illuminated in a way that I think it isn't a malefic placement, but it is maybe at times a difficult thing to grapple with, because you can be a bit uncomfortable with how to express your emotions. You can be what some folks would deem over dramatic. I think if you know any Leo moons, or if you're a Leo moon, you know that they tend to sort of live very theatrically. They're very expressive, and at times can exasperate. The way that I never know how to pronounce that word, and I'm always so brave to try and pronounce it out loud, but it's like, Jazz, humble yourself. They can emphasize situations, and yeah, they can make them more loud than they probably originally were, because we live for the drama, babe. It's giving Sharpay Evans. But obviously I think, you know, with like Leo being the sign that it doesn't rule the child, that's Aries, but it does rule sort of like youthful energy, right? And being really expressive and creative and curious. I think if Aries is like the baby, then Leo is like the toddler. Like a little bit past the terrible twos, but like not quite as developed as like the 13-year-old. So yeah, so when you have that ruling your emotional world, there's a way of being that is very, very, very inherently youthful. Your inner child is very alive. And so I think I immediately want to get into what I think the very first tip for living as empowered as you possibly can as a moon in Leo is to first and foremost make sure that at the forefront of your life, this is so fucking important, I could actually cry. At the forefront of your life, every single decision that you make should be through the lens of your inner child. And I cannot stress that enough. I think it's very important that anyone with any placement in any part of the world has a very healthy relationship with their inner child. But I think it is especially important for a moon in Leo, because it is the way that you sort of embody living in the energy and in the essence of your inner child, that you give so many others permission to play, to laugh, to keep life light. Now this isn't meant to evade responsibility, especially if you are at an age, or even in a Saturn impacted age, where you have a lot of sort of larger decisions to make, and you know, responsibility over your life. Always, always, always get shit done. I am a Capricorn Mercury, so at the end of the day, I am always going to be very committed and structured and all of those things, but like, that should never be at the sacrifice of your inner child. I think who we are to our core, when we take off the labels and when we are no longer performing for validation, or striving to upkeep facade, or just when we aren't living for anything outside of ourselves, when we return back to what we truly want, who we really are communicating with, and whose interests we actually are having at heart is our inner child. And so it's so important that as a moon in Leo, you honor your like organic essence and your need to be playful, your need to be free, to be curious, to be seen. To be seen is so, so, so important, but to be seen through an authentic lens. If you are disconnected from your truth, if you're disconnected from who you were as a child, you're living inauthentically, and you're going to sort of like wither away. It's like a flower that didn't get nearly enough sunlight and water, and it just is gonna kind of like, yeah, it's just gonna wither away unless you really, really, really commit to making sure that the life you are curating for yourself, your inner child is enamored by, in awe of. And so for me, I think anyone who knows me knows that I'm almost too connected to my inner child, but it's something that I will never, never, never compromise in any way. But every decision that I make, every person that I bring into my life, every just big change that I make, I sit down in meditation and I really call forth my inner child. Usually, I mean, it depends on what I'm working on, or like what the theme or the specific question is, but I'm usually bringing forth like my like 9, 10, 11-year-old self, and I'm asking her what she thinks. I'm asking her, you know, would you like the idea of us living in Europe, dating this person, sort of shifting this way creatively? Do you like our career? Do you like what we're doing? Do you like what we're wearing? Do you like what's going on right now? Because I think the only person, and my friend Sierra said this, but like the only person that we should be worried about impressing is our inner child. That's the only person whose approval matters, truly. So as a moon in Leo, it is your duty to honor your inner child's needs, your inner child's voice, expressing yourself the way your inner child does. The thing about it is that like, I always see us as like those like Russian dolls that you like open and there's like another version, and then you open up and there's a smaller version, because we are never no longer who we were. if that makes sense. Like, just because we got older and just because our physicality to some way, shape, or form aged doesn't mean that who we were a year ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago just died. We just continued, but they're still in us. There's still that core. And I think being a child, outside of, I'm sure, you know, we all have had traumatic or, you know, wounding experiences, but at the end of the day, your child is who you are before you are affected by conditioning and before you're affected by just all of the things that adulthood slowly starts to poison you with. So it really is like your most honest, truthful, connected to source and love self. So when you come back to that seed within you, not only do you live your fullest potential, but it is by you standing in your fullest essence and the way that people witness you. Because the thing about a moon in Leo is you're always going to be seen. You're always going to have an audience, right? It's just like the star within you is always going to be really, really bright. So as people witness you and they see the freedom on your skin, you really give them permission to do the same. So as a moon in Leo, honor your need to be a free, curious, explorative, playful child. So like I said, check in with your inner child, ask them questions, take them on dates, give them play dates, give them days where all, like, your entire routine is through the lens of like, what do you want to do? You want to go for an aimless walk? You want to go hang out with a friend and just watch a movie? Do you want to eat this like high fructose corn syrup snack? Like, just make sure that you tend to them sweetly, you tend to them intentionally, and also that, like, through the lens of your adult self, you build a life that honors your inner child's needs. So of course I'm still taking care of, like, paying my bills and making sure that my health, my mental, physical health is being taken care of. Like, I'm still I'm still operating as a fully functioning adult, but that doesn't mean I have to compromise living a life that my inner child loves. I am not a person who can do a 9 to 5, and I never will be, and my inner child would absolutely die and wither away if I did. And that isn't to say that there's anything wrong with a 9 to 5. I think there's so many people, particularly major Capricorn placements, that need to uphold that part of society. But I can still build a life that my inner child would love while taking care of my needs, my monetary needs, my physical needs, my health needs, all of my needs. Step 1. What's that TikTok meme? Anyway, another thing about moon in Leo, and this is important. This is so important. Hear me out. If there's one thing that you may know about any major Leo placements in your life, particularly Leo suns, is that there's a level of vanity that comes within them. Now, unpopular opinion, I don't think that Leos are the most vain signs. I actually think it's secretly their sister signs, Aquarius is, which I'm an Aquarius sun, so like I can safely say, yes, I think Aquariuses have the biggest egos of the zodiac because they see themselves as like these evolved species that see so much further and larger than any other like Homo sapien, and just like, you know. But Leos, the way that they are egotistical is in a much more surface way. I just think that all Leos think that they're hot and that and the world should revolve around them. Sometimes they're wrong, sometimes they're right. With that being said though, I think, right, and these are tips on how you can live in your most empowered just state and your fullest potential. As a moon in Leo, it is so important that you feel good about yourself. And of course, I think if you're honoring step 1, right, so living a life that your inner child is enamored by, you're feeling good about yourself internally and creatively. But like on a physical level, it is so important that you feel hot. And like, you can think that that is vain, you can think that that's egotistical, you can think that that's surface level, you can think whatever you want to think, but I do a lot of like goddess activation workshops, and we talk about how important it is to adorn your body, to see yourself as a temple, and to uphold beauty. It's so important that you notice beauty, that you curate your life to be beautiful, and that you see yourself as beautiful. Of course, that beauty should be sourced within. First and foremost, it is internal. It doesn't matter how much makeup and how much intention you pour into your physical temple. If you are not right within, the darkness is going to cast such a muck over what's happening externally. So first you want to make sure that like your beauty beams from within, that your karma is clear, that your aura is pure, you know, that your you're loving who you are outside of external, and that you're gifting beauty and love and light into the world, because that's gonna sort of illuminate from within. But after that, it is so important that you feel hot. It's so important that you feel hot. And this, of course, this is advice that can cast into anyone watching, but like, I think especially for a moon in Leo, it's like vital for your like well-being that you feel hot. Mind you, as someone with ovaries, I think I've had to deal with, as I'm sure anyone else with ovaries has had to deal with, like fluctuating hormones, and having to deal with the fact that like there's one part of the month where you feel like sex is dripping off of your skin and you feel just like the most sensual, delicious human being in the world, and then a week later you're like, no one look at me, I want to live in a hole in the ground and never see the light of day again. It's difficult, it's jarring, it's dizzying, which is why in those times I do try to like, you know, tend to myself. But I will say that there have been eras of my life where I've just felt uglier. Like, I don't know whether it's because I was really stressed out or I wasn't taking care of myself. I tend to like anxious eat, which, trigger warning by the way, I think if you are gaining weight from like overcoming some sort of disordered eating, or because you're traveling, or because you're in a happy relationship, or because you just feel like fucking gaining weight, or because you just naturally and organically did, go off. Like, go off. I would never want to be as thin as my thinnest was, because I was depriving myself of a lot of life. However, I went through a particular time during the beginning of the pandemic where I was gaining weight just because, like, it was fear weight, it was protection weight. I was like gorging myself with food to deal with my anxiety, and that weight felt gross to me because it just wasn't joyful weight, and it made me feel really insecure about myself. I felt like I hadn't been taking care or placing my self-care at the forefront. And so yeah, anytime I've dealt with that, or like just not feeling like comfortable in my skin, dealing with a breakout, dealing with my hair having a weird phase, or just like not feeling like my luminosity was at its fullest potency, I just felt so disconnected from who I was. Because the thing about it is that like I said, as moons in Leo, like there's an audience that's kind of always there no matter what. And if you don't feel like you're the most the best taken care of version of yourself, or yeah, just the most beautiful version of yourself, when those eyes are on you, it like is very jarring. So I say that to say that like, in any way that you can commit to your physical upkeep and to your beauty routine in a way that's intentional, please do that. Which means if you have a 12-step skincare routine, or that you make sure that you get your nails done every 2 weeks, or you get your hair with a certain kind of treatment, that your jewelry is always very intentional, that you go to the gym and you do, like, you go on hot girl walks, like, and whatever way, shape, or form you are called to sort of honor and adorn your body. The thing about it is, if you want to attract beauty and beautiful things into your life, you got to match that vibration. So you got to feel beautiful. And there are times when most of the time I feel absolutely beautiful when I have not a lick of makeup on and sweatpants, but it's about feeling beautiful. So whatever you need to do in order to feel beautiful, which sometimes that's sweatpants and makeup, and no makeup for me, but also sometimes that's like a fly ass outfit and a dope ass like color eyeshadow. Like, if whatever it takes to feel physically beautiful, make sure that that is what you do first and foremost, because you are at your most empowered when you feel beautiful, and it is in the energy that you emit when you are feeling and standing within that beauty that others feel sort of empowered to not only witness it in you, but in themselves as well. So yes, as a recap, make sure that your inner child is at the forefront of all that you do. Make sure that you feel hot, and that you do what you need to do to make sure that you feel hot. Period. These are honest, this is facts. This is also coming from someone who has survived as a Leo moon for 26 years. And the last one is to make sure that no matter what, you are laughing through life. Now, if you have any Leo moons in your life, if you're not a Leo moon in yourself, I don't doubt that you in particular find them to be a very funny person. There is something that is inherently just humor is very natural and organic, and almost like the first way that they filter and approach life. So it is very important that not only you honor the fact that you need humor to survive and to mend and tend to your soul, but that you surround yourself with people who make you laugh or people who understand your humor. This is something that I really had to like kind of learn the hard way when it came to dating, of like, there was someone who met so many of my needs, but I didn't find them funny, and we were from different cultures, and therefore they weren't able to quite understand my humor in a way. And I don't have an offensive humor, obviously, but like my humor is very, at times, very like American, in particular very Black American, in particular very Floridian. And like, I think so much of my essence and so much of who I am is derived from my humor and my jokes. And if you don't see that, you don't really see me. And so yeah, it's really important that you make sure your friends, your romantic partners, the people in your life understand your sense of humor, see that part of you, and also make you laugh. And so I love Tracee Ellis Ross. Like more, like I love her so much. I think she is someone, I think obviously in my goddess activation workshops, definitely join the next time I have one, but we talk a lot about having goddesses that we work with, not only historically, but also like modern day goddesses. So obviously like Beyonce is a modern day goddess that I work with. When I'm doing solar plexus work, I listen to a lot of Beyonce and I watch her videos and she activates me. When I'm doing a lot of like heart work, I work with Tracee Ellis Ross. I think for sure she is a modern day goddess, as is like Alicia Keys, and like, you know, like there's so many people, but like Tracee Ellis Ross also happens to be a fellow Leo moon. And I remember reading an interview with her where she mentioned that she didn't find herself funny. And right, she's like known to be this comedic actress. She's known to be someone who's funny. And she was like, I don't think I'm funny. I just think I'm comfortable being silly. I don't think I'm embarrassed to be childlike. I think I just laugh through life and I let life make me laugh, and therefore people think that makes me funny when I'm really just, I'm comfortable being the fullest version of myself. Obviously I'm paraphrasing and I'm adding more into it, but like that was what she was saying. And I was like, I've never felt more seen by a sentiment, and I also feel like there's nothing that represents a Leo moon more than that sentiment. So I say that to say, really protect your need to laugh through life, especially when life gets difficult. I have been through the experiences that any human having a human experience goes through. They've been beautiful, they've been dark, they've been hard, they've been whatever, but like I've always laughed through everything. I've made sure to confront and I've gone through what I needed to get through by acknowledging and witnessing and crying and hurting, and like I've really felt everything that I've ever needed to feel. But like for example, the first time that I got my heart broken in like 2014, right? Like my like high school sweetheart and we broke up, and it was so traumatic, and it happened to be around the same time that two of my like best friends were also going through really deep breakups. And it's funny because like that was probably like the saddest my heart had ever been. But every time I reflect on that time, I reflect on it with such joy, because like my two friends and I, we spent that entire summer together, like trauma bonding, but like laughing, just laughing at ourselves, laughing at the fact that like these like stupid boys were like destroying us. And we like, yeah, we laughed so much through the pain that now when I reflect on it, I'm like, what a funny, like what an LOL last time. Like we were just like crying in my friend's backyard, but also like just like making memes out of it, like, you know. So deal with as much of the darkness of life as you possibly can through the lens of humor, through the lens of laughter, as your inner child would. Protect your inner child by laughing through it. And that doesn't mean that you bypass the pain, the accountability, the darker part of it, but it also doesn't mean that pain and accountability and darkness exist without some form of light or humor. I think it's one of the most beautiful, like laughter is so medicinal. It is, we have access to this like natural source of soul medicine, of soul balm, and if we don't honor and nurture that, especially as Leo moons, we lose ourselves. Our humor is such a large part of our identity. So in order to live in your most empowered self, you want to make sure that you're in spaces and in communities that nurture your humor, that nurture your need for laughter, that you're constantly laughing, and that you're just like, you allow yourself to deal with life through the lens of laughter. So all in all, those are the 3 tips that I would give to anyone with a Leo moon. And if you have a Leo moon in your life, and a partner and a friend and a family member and a coworker, whatever the case may be, knowing that that's what they need, approach them in a different kind of way. You know, Leo moons tend to sort of like upkeep light and are sort of like the source of light in a lot of people's lives. And so be there for them in ways that you may not even realize they need, because they tend to sort of like, Leo moons, because they are so, I think, image led, right? They like to look good, be good, and also be perceived as good. They may not always share when they need something. They'll be over dramatic, but if they're like actually genuinely hurting, they probably won't tell many people, because that'll break their "I'm a bad bitch who can't be killed" facade. So yeah, just like check in on your Leo moon friends, make them laugh as much as they make you laugh. Nurture their inner child. Make sure that your inner child is showing up for their inner child as well, and that you are keeping life and the relationship playful. And yeah, let me know in the comments below if any of this made sense or resonated with the Leo moons in your life or for you. But also let me know which moon sign you want me to do next. I think that these can be very helpful. And I'm definitely gonna get into the Venus signs afterwards. I'm a Venus in Pisces, and I know that like, had I had someone guide me on what it means to love responsibly as a Venus in Pisces, I would be in a much different place with my relationship. So yeah, sending you all my love. I'll see you at the next installment. And like I said, if you ever, I didn't say this, but like I always say, if you ever want to work with me one-on-one, you can do so by visiting my website at Jasmine Kylene, or visiting my website, jasminekylene.com, or follow me on Instagram at Jasmine Kylene. And yeah, I'll see you next time.